Hi, I'm your host, Rick Sessinghaus, and excited to launch Flow Golf Podcast. Each episode, we will share stories, interview experts, and share cutting-edge strategies for peak performance. Here's my co-host, Hallam Morgan, to explain more about Flow Code Golf.
Thanks, Rick. Flow Code Golf is a framework of strategies, principles, and techniques that take us from fear to the state of flow, the state of optimal performance, and the zone where we play our best golf. You can find out more about Flow Code Golf at www.flowcode.golf. And I just want to finish up by saying this podcast is as much your podcast as it is ours. So please ask questions, provide feedback, and get engaged. I hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Welcome back to another Flow Code Flow Golf podcast. This is Rick Sessinghaus, and I'm going to be doing a solo version today. And I want to jump into really what I would call the fundamentals of the mental game is what state are you in when you play your best golf? Think about that. Now, of course, I call it the flow state, which is optimal experience. We perform our best. We feel our best. And there's certain characteristics of a flow state. You know, we're focused, we're confident, we're calm. Now, you may use a different term, in the zone or in the pocket or whatever, but the goal of the mental game is to be able to train to get into that state more often. As a swing coach, certainly we understand cause and effect. If a ball goes to the right, as a right-handed golfer, I know the club face is open. You go, yeah, of course, Rick. But does that golfer know why the club face is open? Do they know that the hands are moving a certain way? Do they know how their body is moving to create the club face to be open? And not all golfers do, by the way. So just because we know what's going wrong doesn't mean we know what's going right and how to actually train that. So I'm going to go back and forth between golf swing and mental side here in a moment. But the golf swing, we train it. We want to have the motor patterns and the mechanics be consistent enough to have a dispersion that is playable, okay? We kind of want to know where the ball's going, don't we? And so we train, we hit balls on the range, maybe we hit balls at home. We think about our golf swing all the time because we want it to show up in a certain way. We have some level of certainty of where the ball could go. And at least trying to, again, shrink the amount of the dispersion where it goes, right? So I think in golf instruction, we've been obsessed with golf swing. I understand why. Yet, when we talk about the mental side of the game, there is not a lot of people who actually are training it. And I still get so many people who say, yeah, it's important, Rick. Yeah, flow. Yeah, I want to do that more often. And I say, well, are you actually training the mental game? And they would say, well, no, what is that? Okay. Now, we've in these podcasts certainly talk about different aspects of it. But today, I just want to kind of get right to the point is a lot of golfers will have what we call pre-shot routines. And I ask them, why are you doing the pre-shot routine? And they look at me like, well, am I supposed to do a pre-shot routine? I go, yeah, but what are the elements in that? And why are you doing those elements or those behaviors? Okay. Now here, I'm going to put now the mental game coach hat on is I want somebody to use that pre-shot routine to prepare for success. I want somebody to prepare mentally, emotionally, and physically to execute the shot they intend. Okay, what does that mean? Well, today's podcast, I really just want to jump into the pre-shot routine as a way for us to get closer to a flow state. So let's peel back a little bit. Remember, flow is peak performance. We feel our best, we perform our best. And there's a few characteristics that are just, they're vital, non-negotiables. And the first one is flow follows focus. Your ability to pay attention to the present moment on what's relevant is a skill. Okay. The opposite is I'm paying attention to something that's irrelevant. We call that a distraction. So golfers, when you're distracted, do you have a way to get back to focus? Are you actually training your focus off of the golf course? Are you doing things to help you monitor where your attention's going? Not a lot of people are doing that. So I want you to think about your pre-shot routine right now. What are you doing to help you funnel your attention, your focus into the present moment, into the present shot. Again, people will tell me, yeah, Rick, I just grab my club and I pick a target and I go. I go, okay, but to me, there's decision making. There's actually having a game plan. There's things that happen well before you actually pull the club. But if flow and peak performance is about being in the present moment, how many of you are actually in the present moment? Just think about that in life. In golf, yes, the little white ball doesn't move until you move. There's variables out there that don't change much. The only thing would probably change in the moment is the wind strength, the direction. But it still is hard for people to stay in the present moment. Nobody's guarding you, nobody's running to block you or anything like that. So why is it so hard to focus on the shot? Well, in golf, we're pulled either into the future of what may or may not happen. Oh, don't go in the water. Oh my gosh, that would ruin my score. Or they're thinking 3 or 4 holes ahead. Oh yeah, there's that par five. I can get there in two and I can make a birdie. Or we're still in the past. We're beating ourselves up for the three putt we had. We're still thinking about our playing partner who made a questionable ruling, right? And we're stuck in the past or we're into the future. We're not in the present moment. And to me, it all starts with that. And are you doing the things necessary to shift from shot to shot to shot? And whether you're having 72 shots per round or 90 shots per round, you have these opportunities on each shot to be in the present moment. That is where the mental game starts. Flow follows focus. Do you have skills? Do you have what we call at flow code flow triggers to now trigger your focus to be in the present moment? So I just want to review a few of those for you. So let's pretend you're on a second shot on a par four, right? Now, whether you're in a cart and you kind of hop out of the cart or whether you're walking, you put your bag down, that's when I want you to start your focus on that shot. So if I put my bag down, how would one get into the present moment? Well, at Flow Code, we have different channels we call. And the two main channels is one we have cognitive, our thinking patterns, and we have sensory, which has a lot to do with breath work and visualization and stuff that I'll get into. Are you using those channels to help you get your focus in the present moment? Maybe you do on some shots and then you forget to do them on another ones, or you get stressed about certain things and it's hard for you to refocus. So our ability to, in that 30 seconds, be fully absorbed in the present moment is a superpower, and we need to train it. So I'm going to give you some examples of what could funnel our attention to the present moment. A lot of people start with breath work. Rick, I get to my ball, I take a smooth breath. I inhale 3 and I exhale 3. And that feels grounding and centering, and I call myself, I'm in the present moment. I go, fantastic. That's one that you're feeling in the moment, the breath. You might even be counting the breath. So you've pulled your attention to the present moment with breath. Fantastic tool, by the way. Okay. You can take it a step further and not only with the breath, but also use it as a centering or grounding technique where as I breathe, I feel my feet are rooted into the ground. Or I feel my stomach is solid, right? The grounding of that. Well, now I'm paying attention to my body and breath. I'm in the present moment. I'm in my body in the present moment. So that's a combination of breath work with some what we would call kind of a sensory motor of like how our body is feeling, of paying attention to the present moment. The next one I use the most is cognitive. I ask questions about my environment. Those questions might be, how is that lie going to affect the ball flight? Where's the wind coming from? How firm is this green? Where's the best place to have a target here? Those questions are about this present shot. Not saying that's a bad lie or, oh my gosh, I hate this hole, right? That would be pulling myself and creating kind of a opinion about the shot instead about the facts of the shot. So I use cognitive, I use questions. I'm questioning the environment for me to be pulled in with my focus. There's other people who now, once they've maybe asked the right questions, maybe they've done a little breathing, another way to kind of lock in would be done through visualization, seeing your intention before it happens, seeing success before it happens. And a lot of people, when you say, "Hey, do you visualize shots?" They go, sometimes, and yeah, I kind of see a target, and I go, "Okay, but what I hear is a lot of inconsistency. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they only do it on iron shots, maybe putting." And if we want to be consistent at a high level from a mental perspective, we need to tap into what are those tools that are going to help, again, funnel our attention to the present moment, get us in a confident, committed state, and also with the calmness in our body to be able to have the timing and the feel of that golf swing that we've practiced so much. So when we now look at now visualization, I've talked a lot about in other podcasts and such, is that visualization is been proven over and over and over again to help people's focus, but also their confidence, seeing success before it happens. And we can see a bullseye in the distance, which is what I use. We can use a shot tracer. We can change the color of the shot tracer. We can, and I've mentioned this many times, a story I was working with a very talented college player who is highly analytical, and he told me all his TrackMan numbers. And I said, okay, well, I don't know how that's going to help you with this 5 iron that you're going to have to hit. But I asked him to hit this shot and see a pink shot tracer with glitter on it. And when the ball hit the green, it would explode into a firework. So he looked at me and kind of like, what are you talking about, Rick? Well, I was trying to utilize visualization in such a creative way that all he could think about was the intention of the shot. And we see juniors do this all the time. We have people who have fun with it. When we're in recovery shots or in the trees, we sometimes have forced our visualization, right? I got to hit it underneath that tree branch. It's got to cut this mount, right? And we see that and we respond to it and react to it in a very athletic manner. So visualization, again, helps us focus on what we want, but again, it helps us focus in the present moment. Then we get to, in somebody's routine, a practice swing, a rehearsal swing, however you want to frame that, is now I'm maybe going to mimic how I want to feel. If I'm going to hit a cut, maybe I'm going to feel a cut. Other people, you'll see people use exaggerated practice swings where they're exaggerating something they want to feel. That's fine. But we're using now the practice swing with intention. And with that, we can again focus on what we want. We have an intention of the goal. We're putting our body of how we want the body to feel to create that. And again, it's about being in the present moment. So what I've said right now is we've had 4 kind of different ways to be in the present moment. We have some breath work that we can also call like grounding ourselves. And we have cognitive, which for me is a lot of self-talk and questions. We have visualization. We have practice swings. And there's one more that I think golfers need to tap into more, which is more auditory driven. I think the best golf swings have these great tempo and rhythm and timing to it, right? I know the positions of a golf swing affect the ball flight, but I've seen people who mechanically look fantastic and then their timing and their rhythm changes. And then those mechanics, unfortunately, don't produce the same shot. So we have some people who love music and they're very auditory driven, and they might listen to their favorite music and that helps them get into the rhythm of their golf swing. Well, that might be something that gets you in the present moment. You might be humming a song. You might be just saying, let's swing smooth, fluid, 80%, 1, 2, 3, 1, right? And we're now using auditory as a way to trigger the present moment of what we want. So with flow code, we talk a lot about these flow triggers, and then you get to create your own code for flow. And in your routine, it's the best time to do it. Okay. Ball's not moving. 30 seconds. What are you going to do in those 30 seconds to be at your best? We have to make decisions, right? So we have to know what the information is. We have to ask good questions. We need to be calm enough to make those decisions and for our body to be able to respond in a certain way. We want to be at the good rhythm and tempo. We want to see success. We call that stacking now triggers. Stacking these different ways that can all get us into that present moment to be at our best. So it's easy for me to say do these things in your pre-shot routine, but what I would encourage you to do is to start to experiment with this. So develop a pre-shot routine that enhances your ability to pay attention to the present moment. The last thing I'll add here is you can train all of these skills off of the golf course. So with Flow Code, we encourage our clients to be able to take focus, for instance, and train that at home. Train that maybe with some mindfulness meditation. Maybe it's a certain breath work. Maybe it is guided visualization. We have to build those muscles, right? We are creating that gym, but now for your mind. Are you going to do the repetitions necessary to change those skills? And in this time, we're talking about the skill of being focused. When I do 5 to 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation, the goal is not to be for those 5 minutes to be focused the entire time. That would be challenging. It's when I catch myself distracted, bring it back to the breath. Distraction, bring it back. Be aware that your focus is not in the present moment. That's step one. And step two, now shift it back to, in this case, it might be a breath work. That's building the muscle of the skill of focus. Doing it off the golf course, doing it on the range, and then doing it on the course, and then doing it on the course when you're feeling stress and pressure. That's when we truly have the skill, when it's unconscious under pressure situations. The only way I have to do that is through repetition. So as I finish up, again, I encourage everybody that we know the mental game's important. You're working on your golf swing, you're working on your shot patterns, you understand your, cause and effect. Awesome. Keep working on those motor patterns. We know that your swing will show up differently if you're stressed or if you're calm and in a flow state. Let's start training that flow state. Let's try to now actually include things that is going to get you more focused, confident, calm, committed to those shots. But you got to start practicing it. So really appreciate you taking the time to listen to the podcast. Can't wait to share more with you in our next episode. And now it's time to go flow.